pictures. Show the images. She wanted the world to see the ravages of racism, the brutality of bigotry.
I believe that the whole United States is mourning with me. And if the death of my son can mean something to the other unfortunate people all over the world, then for him to have died a hero would mean more to me than for him just to have died.
Mamie Till, I think, got more viscerally than anyone that if she didn't show those pictures, he would just be another black boy gone dead.
That's true.
Roy Bryant and his half-brother J.W. Milam were arrested and accused of murder. Their trial was held in Sumner, Mississippi, just 2 weeks after the funeral. Although black reporters were kept separate, it was one of the first times in the South that they were permitted to sit in the main courtroom with the rest of the press.
Instead of being up in the balcony, frequently called the crow's nest, they were allowed to sit at a table on the ground floor, not that far from where the white press was seated. That was considered a breakthrough.
Among the journalists covering the trial were Jet reporter Simeon Booker and freelance photographer Ernest Withers. Withers' photograph of Mose Wright on the witness stand, defiantly pointing to his nephew's murderers, captured a rare moment. A black man bearing witness to racial terror in a Southern courtroom.
The Ernest Withers photo of Moses Wright standing up at the trial of Till's murderers was taken surreptitiously. I think that's the number one image that most people remember.
The trial lasted 4.5 days. One journalist called it the first great media event of the civil rights movement.
I've just received information of an acquittal in the murder charge of Emmet Till in LaFleur County.
After little more than an hour of deliberations, the all-white jury acquitted both defendants.
What joy to live with a despicable monster.
It took 67 minutes. And one juror said, it wouldn't have taken us even that long except we stopped to have a soda.
It's really, really, really hard. It's really hard for me to understand that psychopaths really do live. This is the most horrific thing I've ever seen, really. It really is. Celebrations.
While the defendants escaped punishment, they would not escape judgment. After the trial, this man, journalist William Bradford Huey, persuaded them to sell their true story for $4,000. Huey sold the story to Look magazine. It's the ultimate insult to injury, having just been exonerated in this sham of a trial, only to, with no fear of double jeopardy, tell their story. Yeah, we did it. Here's how we did it. Deal with it, American. Remarkably, 62 years later, in 2017, Emmet Till's accuser, Carolyn Bryant, recanted much of her story, admitting that she lied about what happened that day in the store. Look magazine never published the graphic photographs of Emmet Till's mutilated corpse, and few white Americans saw them at the time.
That's
But
really
soon, a leader would emerge who understood how images of racial violence could bring about change, and he would force the nation to face them.
Is this just a test that we're getting ready to...
That's what we've done. Next time we go, it'll be for real.
This is rare, early footage of the 27-year-old man who before long would become a legend. But in 1956, Martin Luther King Jr. was a little-known minister and the leader of a bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, that started when activist Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man.
This is a non-violent protest using the method of passive resistance.
Martin Luther King was a man of huge thoughtfulness about the strategy that he had asked those who followed him to use. And that strategy was that in the face of violence, you had the moral high ground if you did not return violence with violence.
Negro passengers have been humiliated, intimidated.
At first, the young minister who went by the unassuming name of M.L. King was only covered by black journalists writing for black papers.
In particular, the Birmingham World, a black newspaper, and its editor, Emory Jackson. He writes about, long before anyone else, that Dr. King is invoking Gandhian principles. He becomes referred to in the black press as the Black Moses. The white editors, they were just living in a different world.
The majority press, the white press, basically ignored African Americans. And not just episodes of violence against them, but achievements, anything to do with their daily life. Basically, flat out ignored them.
They didn't even often use the names of black people because that would be a sign of respect. It's galling now to look at the level of disregard and oblivion that was in the media at that time.
As long as you sit in the back, you have a false sense of inferiority. And so long as you let the white man sit in the front and push you back down, he has a false sense of superiority.
Montgomery bus boycott. Unbelievably successful from the very first day. And it took weeks to get a national reporter in there. I think it was 6 weeks before a news magazine came in, and then 12 weeks before a major newspaper came in.
We have no moral choice but to continue the struggle, not for ourselves alone, but for all Americans.
King developed a strategy of resistance that was designed to challenge the status quo while never making white America feel threatened.
This is why it's really important to stress that what he said is true. Racism hurts the racists as well, and their children, and whoever does and practices it.
He consciously set about creating a character palatable to all of America. Martin Luther King understood that if you're only telling the story, among the black press and among black people, you're preaching to the choir. You've got to get outside the church.
Exactly.
Nearly every American heard about the Little Rock Nine. The story gave a boost to the movement, and the movement gave a boost to the fledgling industry of television news.
Television was just breaking through to be
with shotguns, pistols, clubs. It was like a Nazi rally.
The mood was total anarchy. I was the first black woman full-time reporter at the Washington Post. I was not part of the team that was covering the events on campus. There's no way black reporters, we would have all been dead. We had tried to be on campus.
Unbelievable.
Hundreds of U.S. Marshals sent by President Kennedy to protect Meredith poured onto the Ole Miss campus.
There was this amassing of forces, federal forces coming in from Memphis, military troops coming in.
His